Of course, raising standards alone will not make much of a difference unless we provide teachers and principals with the information they need to make sure students are prepared to meet those standards. And far too few states have data systems like the one in Florida that keep track of a student's education from childhood through college. And far too few districts are emulating the example of Houston and Long Beach. And using data to track how much progress a student is making and where that student is struggling. That's a resource that can help us improve student achievement. And tell us which students had which teachers so we can assess what's working and what's not. That's why we're making a major investment in this area that we will cultivate a new culture of accountability in America's schools. Now, to complete our race to the top requires the third pillar of reform: recruiting. Preparing and rewarding outstanding teachers. From the moment students enter a school, the most important factor in their success is not the color. Of their skin or the income of their parents, it's the person standing at the front of the classroom. That's why our Recovery Act will ensure that hundreds of thousands of teachers and school personnel are not laid off because those Americans are not only doing jobs they can't afford to lose. They're rendering a service our nation cannot afford to lose, either. America's future depends on its teachers. And so today, I'm calling on a new generation of Americans to step forward and serve our country in our classrooms. If you want to make a difference in the life of our nation, If you want to make the most of your talents and dedication, if you want to make your mark with a legacy that will endure, then join the teaching profession. America needs you. We need you. In our suburbs. We need you in our small towns. We especially need you in our inner cities. We need you in classrooms all across our country. And if you do your part, then we'll do ours. That's why we're taking steps to prepare teachers for their difficult responsibilities. And encourage them to stay in the profession. That's why we're creating new pathways to teaching and new incentives to bring teachers to schools where they're needed most. That's why we support offering extra pay. To Americans who teach math and science, to end a teacher shortage in those subjects. It's why we're building on the promising work being done in places like South Carolina's Teachers Advancement Program. And making an unprecedented commitment to ensure that anyone entrusted with educating our children is doing the job as well as it can be done. Now, here's what that commitment means. It means treating teachers like the professionals. They are, while also holding them more accountable. In up to 150 more school districts. New teachers will be mentored by experienced ones. Good teachers will be rewarded with more money for improved student achievement. And asked to accept more responsibilities for lifting up their schools. Teachers throughout a school will benefit from guidance and support to help them improve. And just as we've given our teachers all the support they need to be successful, We need to make sure our students have the teacher they need to be successful. And that means states and school districts taking steps to move bad teachers out of the classroom. But let me be clear, the overwhelming number of teachers are doing an outstanding job under difficult circumstances. My sister is a teacher, so I know how tough teaching can be. But let me be clear, if a teacher is given a chance or 2 chances or 3 chances but still does not improve, there's no excuse for that person to continue teaching. I reject a system that rewards failure and protects a person from its consequences. The stakes are too high. We can afford nothing but the best when it comes to our children's teachers and the schools where they teach. Now, that leads me to the fourth part of America's education. Strategy promoting innovation and excellence in America's schools. One of the places where much of that innovation occurs is in our most effective charter schools. And these are public schools founded by parents, teachers, and civic or community organizations with broad leeway to innovate. Schools I supported as a state legislator and a United States Senator. But right now, there are many caps on how many charter schools are allowed in some states. No matter how well they're preparing our students. That isn't good for our children, our economy, or our country. Of course, any expansion of charter schools must not result in the spread of mediocrity. But in the advancement of excellence. And that will require states adopting both a rigorous selection and review process too. Ensure that a charter school's autonomy is coupled with greater accountability as well as a strategy. Like the one in Chicago, to close charter schools that are not working. Provided this greater accountability, I call on states to reform their charter rules. And lift caps on the number of allowable charter schools, wherever such caps are in place. Now, even as we foster innovation in where our children are learning, let's also foster innovation in when our children are learning. We can no longer afford an academic calendar designed for when America was a nation. Of farmers who needed their children at home plowing the land at the end of each day. That calendar may have once made sense, but today it puts us at a competitive disadvantage. Our children listen to this. Our children spend over a month less in school than children in South Korea every year. That's no way to prepare them for a 21st century economy. That's why I'm calling for us not only to expand effective after-school programs, but to rethink the school day to incorporate more time, whether during the summer or through expanded day programs for children who need it. Now, I no longer school days and school years are not wildly popular ideas. Not with Malia and Sasha, not in my family, and probably not in yours. But the challenges of a new century demand more time in the classroom. If they can do that in South Korea, we can do it right here in the United States of America. Of course, no matter how innovative our schools or how effective our teachers, America cannot succeed unless our students take responsibility for their own education. That means showing up for school on time, paying attention in class. Seeking out extra tutoring if it's needed, staying out of trouble. To any student who's watching, I say this. Don't even think about dropping out of school. Don't even think about it. As I said a couple of weeks ago, dropping out is quitting on yourself. It's quitting on your country, and it's not an option not anymore. Not when our high school dropout rate has tripled in the past 30 years. Not when high school dropouts earn about half as much as college graduates. Not when Latino students are dropping out faster than just about anyone else. It's time for all of us, no matter what our backgrounds, to come together and solve this epidemic. Stemming the tide of dropouts will require turning around our low-performing schools. Just 2,000 high schools in cities like Detroit and Los Angeles. And Philadelphia produce over 50% of America's dropouts. And yet there are too few proven strategies to transform these schools. And there are too few partners to get the job done. So today, I'm issuing a challenge to educators and lawmakers, parents, and teachers alike. Let us all make turning around our schools our collective responsibility as Americans. And that will require new investments in innovative ideas. That's why my budget invests in developing new strategies to make sure at-risk students don't give up on their education. New efforts to give dropouts who want to return to school the help they need to graduate. And new ways to put those young men and women who have left school back on a pathway to graduation. Now, the fifth part of America's education strategy is providing every American with a quality higher education, whether it's college or technical training. Never has a college degree been more important. Never has it been more expensive. And at a time when so many of our families are bearing enormous economic burdens, the rising cost of tuition threatens to shatter dreams. And that's why we will simplify federal college assistance forms so it doesn't take a PhD to apply for financial aid. That's why we're already taking steps to make college or technical training affordable. For the first time ever, Pell Grants will not be subject to the politics of the moment or the whim. Of the market, they will be a commitment that Congress is required to uphold each and every year. Not only that, because rising costs mean Pell Grants cover less than half as much tuition as they did 30 years ago. We're raising the maximum Pell Grant to $5,550 a year and indexing it above inflation. We're also providing a $2,500 a year tuition tax credit for students from working families. And we're modernizing and expanding the Perkins Loan Program to make sure schools like UNLV don't get a tenth as many Perkins loans as schools like Harvard.